This is the extensor digitorum communis muscle. You might sometimes also see this called the common digital extensor. It's one of 4 muscles in the craniolateral antebrachial group. It's the second most cranial in this group, bordered by the extensor carpi radialis in front of it, and the extensor digitorum lateralis behind it. It originates from the lateral epicondyle here on the humerus, cranial in front, proximal above to the lateral collateral ligament of the elbow. A small portion of it originates from the antebrachial fascia as well, and at its origin it's fused with the extensor carpi radialis in front of it by a shared aponeurosis. An aponeurosis is just a flat sheet of connective tissue that connects muscles to other muscles, or sometimes muscles to bone. The extensor digitorum communis here is actually 4 muscle bellies, so I probably could have represented that a little bit more here, but usually it's just shown as one large compound muscle, but it is actually 4 muscle bellies here. They run down the craniolateral radius, as you can see, and it is a fairly small muscle. It's smaller than the extensor carpi radialis in front of it, but it is larger than the extensor digitorum lateralis that's behind it. About a third of the way down the radius, so maybe around here, 3 of these 4 muscle bellies transition into tendons. That would be continuing down the radius here. And about half the way down the radius, the final muscle transitions into a tendon. And they're going to be all running together here, but this final tendon is going to be the tendon that goes to digit 2. As you can see, these 4 tendons here are very closely grouped, and they're going to appear as one. Sometimes actually fused together, especially the tendons that go to digits 3 and 4. But either way, they're enclosed together in a synovial sheath here. And this synovial sheath starts a little bit distal to the tenomuscular junction. That's the junction where the muscle transitions into a tendon. And the synovial sheath usually runs down to around the carpo-metacarpal joint here, where the bottom row carpal bones meets the metacarpal bones. So as this compound tendon runs down the radius, it crosses over the abductor pollicis longus tendon. You might remember us mentioning that in our extensor carpi radialis video from last week, because the abductor pollicis longus tendon actually crossed over the extensor carpi radialis. So you have the extensor carpi radialis tendon coming down here. You have the abductor pollicis longus tendon crossing over it, and the extensor digitorum communis is crossing over the abductor pollicis longus. So you can see a lot of these tendons in this area are going to be crossing over each other. Fortunately, as they go down to the distal radius, they're going to be in these little grooves in the radial bone, and that's going to help them stay in place. They'll also have the extensor retinaculum that'll go over the dorsal carpus that will also help hold these tendons in place. So the tendons pass again through the lateral distal sulcus, this groove on the lateral radius here. And at the level of the radial carpal joint, where the radius meets the top row of carpal bones, this compound tendon is going to subdivide into 4 separate tendons, but they're going to stay together as they cross over the dorsal radius. You can palpate these tendons here in this area of the dorsal carpus. Now, as these tendons come to the carpo-metacarpal joint here, they're going to diverge, and one of each of these tendons is going to go down a corresponding metacarpal bone to the distal phalanges, sometimes referred to as P3, of digits 2, 3, 4, and 5, inserting into the extensor processes of all of these digits. The extensor digitorum communis, as you can probably see represented in this drawing, is one of the longest tendons in the dog's body. Keep in mind that some of these tendons here are starting a third of the way down the radius. So they're running 2/3 of the way down the radius across the entire carpal and metacarpal bones, all the way down to the extensor processes of the distal phalanges. These are very long tendons. And as you can probably tell by the location of these tendons on the dorsal digits, their main function is to extend the digits. Extensor digitorum communis. Extensor, extends, digitorum, digits, communis means common. So if it's common, it goes to all the main digits. This muscle also plays a small role in carpal extension, primarily to stabilize the carpus. And like all the muscles in the craniolateral antebrachial group, it's innervated by the radial nerve. I'll be back next week with the extensor digitorum lateralis. Thanks for watching.